Yo, what is up, y'all? My name is Devin, and today I'm going to be diving into what dictates whether you have good genetics, a good frame for muscle building. Now, before I get into that, if you are interested in one-on-one coaching, a custom meal plan, or a custom training plan, you can definitely check out my website, which is linked down below, or you can just email me if you have any questions about that, right? So it's going to pop up somewhere over here, and we can talk. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. So this video idea actually was sparked by one of my clients. His name is Jaime No. After the Olympia, he sent me a message, and he was like, "Hey, Devin." It sparked the video idea. Thank you, bro. So there's a couple of factors that do dictate whether or not someone has good genetics for muscle building, filling out their frame. The first one is going to be hormones. There are several hormones that go into building muscle. It's not just testosterone. Testosterone does play a factor. If it was the only hormone responsible for muscle building, people would not do steroid cycles of a million other drugs.
Basic. You got, your test, D-ball. It's just basic stuff.
So there are other hormones that are responsible for building muscle, bone structure, sizing of your bones, everything like that dictates a lot of how aesthetic a physique looks, or also the illusion of someone building more muscle and having a bigger frame than they actually have, right? And the last thing is going to be literal family genes. If you look back at some people who are absolutely jacked, their dad was jacked or their mom was jacked. Now, the first thing that I touched base on and that I want to get deeper into are hormones, right? Like I said, testosterone is not the only hormone responsible for muscle building. It does play a pretty huge role because it's responsible for muscle protein synthesis. If you have more testosterone, most likely you'll have a higher rate of muscle protein synthesis, aka the more protein your body can metabolize and make use of towards muscle building. There's also estrogen. Estrogen, believe it or not, plays a huge role when it comes to muscle building. A lot of times trans guys will reach out to me and they're like, "Hey Devin, I'm running a steroid cycle, my testosterone is going to be higher. Should I crash my estrogen with this aromatase inhibitor? I don't want my estrogen to be too high."
By the way, if this is a question that you're asking yourself, you simply do not know enough yet about hormones. I suggest either entrenching yourself in research and how it's applicable, or hiring someone or having a mentor that does understand hormones. I understand it can be a little bit of like uncharted territory being a trans person and navigating hormones, but bare minimum is understanding that estrogen is important for muscle building. So if you're like, should I crash my estrogen? Take a step back, reassess what you're doing with yourself.
Another hormone that's going to be responsible for muscle building is IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor. This is going to dictate a lot of whether or not you're going to be able to adequately build muscle. A lot of people are born with naturally higher testosterone levels. A lot of people are born with naturally higher IGF-1 levels. I remember Jack West, before he started taking stuff, really wanted to prove that he was natural, right? So he did his baseline blood work. He showed his blood work and his IGF-1 level was actually pretty elevated. Those are just some of the hormones that lead to muscle building, right? Another one is DHT. A lot of steroids that are not directly testosterone derived are DHT derived, right? DHT is responsible for a lot of those masculinizing effects. We're looking at facial hair and we're looking at our voice dropping. That is a derivative of DHT. So when you see cis women who are bodybuilders and they may have a deeper voice, 9 times out of 10, they are taking a DHT derived steroid. Not that this video is about steroids, but when we're thinking about muscle building and how to really maximize that, a lot of these hormones are just abused, and that's how we create more muscle. With hormones out of the way, the next subject is going to be bone structure. How can having various bone structure types lead to you looking bigger or lead to you looking fuller? Alona Maher, I think that's her name, right? She has very wide collarbones, right? So her shoulder to shoulder width is pretty wide, which just makes her look more diesel in general. We also look at bodybuilders. A lot of time we're looking for that V taper, right? The very successful bodybuilders, in classic at least, have a very tiny waist. His waist is almost like an optical illusion, bro. Like, it's insane. That small waist creates the illusion of having a huge upper back. Last thing I'm going to touch on when it comes to bone structure and how it can make you look bigger, having small kneecaps. I myself have very small knee joints. When your knee joints are small and you have relatively built quads, they look bigger than they actually are, as opposed to someone who's a bodybuilder who has thick ass knee joints. Well, their quads don't look as big because the entire leg just looks massive, right? We often hear, shorter people have an easier time building muscle. It's not that they have an easier time building muscle, it's that there's a more compact frame to fill out, right? Someone who is 6 foot tall has way more limb length, arms in terms of your legs. You're gonna have to eat a lot more food. You're gonna have a lot more distance to fill out. So it's not that they're building more muscle within a smaller rate of time. It's just that the muscle is very compact, if that makes sense. I'm sure if any of y'all have been around YouTube for a long time, maybe an OG Greg Doucette viewer, we know about myostatin because a lot of SARMs are actually myostatin inhibitors.
Is it a SARM? Is it a steroid? What is it? It's basically kind of like a SARM, kind of like a steroid, but it's also a myostatin inhibitor.
I'm not gonna name any because people seem to think, oh, if I take SARMs, it's okay because I'm not injecting my ass with steroids, when in all actuality, your liver has to metabolize the SARMs, any orals that you take, and 9 times out of 10, someone who's taking SARMs is not gonna take cycle support supplements. You know, if your liver enzymes are off the chart, your liver is working 10 times harder to metabolize the steroids that you're drinking, and you think it's not steroids because it's SARMs, you're not smart and you're still killing yourself, so stop it. What is myostatin? Myostatin is the hormone that is responsible for reducing the rate of muscular growth. Our body does not naturally want to build muscle. We have this mechanism in action, essentially, which reduces the building of muscle. A lot of people who have good genetics for muscle building do not have a high level of myostatin. This is the person you think of that's like 15 years old, already diesel as hell, and they're just thick, and you're like, what is going on with this person? That is one thing that really plays a role in how much muscle you're able to build. I know that I mentioned all these things that dictate whether or not you can build muscle. Those are things that you cannot control. You can't control your hormones. I mean, you could take steroids, but I would hope that you wouldn't unless you want to be a competitive bodybuilder. I don't think that the juice is worth the squeeze, essentially, is what I'm trying to get at. What are factors that you can look at when you think, I may not have the greatest hormone profile for building muscle? When we think of the buzz term, you know, maxing out your genetic potential, like Jeff Nippard likes to say, there are so many things that people just allow to fly under the radar because they're so worried about these things that they can't control. I've been working so hard, bro. Like, I just cannot build muscle. I don't know what's going on. You know, should I raise my testosterone level? There's just something that's not right. And then I ask them a series of questions. In all actuality, right? Someone DMs me or they comment something and they're like, hey, Devin, you know, I've been working out, but I'm just not building muscle. I say, hey, are you following a training program? Are you tracking your sleep? Are you making sure you're sleeping at least 7 hours a night? Are you being mindful of what you're eating? All these questions that I ask, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, 9 times out of 10, you know, either they say, oh no, you're right, I haven't really been doing that. Or the next thing that people say is nothing, because I just get left on red. I feel like it's not proper to complain about the progress that you're not seeing when other people are in fact putting in the work, right? A lot of people will say, well, you know, that person has a good physique because their genetics are just good. But honestly, the same factors that work for someone who has great genetics are gonna be the same things that work for you if you have subpar or average genetics, right? A lot of people think I have bad genetics, my genetics suck ass. Like, no, building muscle is hard. Losing fat is hard. It's hard for everybody. That's why a lot of people don't want to do it. You know, you can sit here and boohoo about how other people have good genetics, but that time that you're spending and that energy that you're spending towards looking at other people's physiques, you could have been doing something to work towards your physique, right? Or even mental toughness. A lot of people are like, I just can't wake up in the morning and go to the gym. It's just too hard. Like, do you think that people just get shot out of their mother's womb, excited to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go to the gym? I know I didn't. I have clients that wake up at 4 to go to the gym, clients that wake up at 5 to go to the gym. Not because I told them to, because they're like, you know what? I want to go to the gym, go to work, and have the rest of my day to relax. That is not them being a hard ass. That's actually them thinking, you know what? I'd rather sacrifice a little bit of time of comfort to be able to be comfortable later on. I guess you guys might be able to tell that the whole genetics argument, it's a moot point to me. The grass is greener on the other side. Why can't I be like, this person is doing nothing for you? I just laid out every single factor of what dictates muscle building, right? Now, the number one factor that really truly dictates muscle building is your ability to get up and fucking go do the work. That's what it is, because someone who has good genetics would never really know unless they did the work. If you do not yet follow me on Instagram, I'm taking things to a little bit of a different route there. You can definitely go ahead and check that out. It's gonna be linked down below. Also, if you guys want to check out some awesome protein powder, apple pie is my favorite flavor, pre-workout, cognitive focus supplements, anything like that, you can check out my sponsor Legion. You can get 20% off your first order with discount code Devin. It would really help me out. And like I always say, Devin loves you, Devin's a Don, and Devin is out of here, boy.